Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a different type of video for you guys. We're going to be recording the Azure Back to School for 2023. You guys will see this live on Monday at 8:30. So be sure to be following. I'll put the links down in the show notes below. But today we're going to cover everything in the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which is all about Microsoft Azure Cloud Security. It is the only cloud native application security tool on the market that also covers both the other two large cloud providers, both AWS and Google Cloud. It also covers GitHub and a few other coding platforms. So let's dive in and review why it's super important to know about Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So what is Defender for Cloud? Defender for Cloud is a cloud-native application protection platform for Microsoft Azure, and like I said, it also covers the other two large cloud providers, both Amazon AWS and Google's GCP Google Cloud. So I will cover a few things, but they'll also be in the Medium article that'll be attached, and then we'll dive in and do a little bit of a demo. So first off, I want to say that the tool itself for Defender for Cloud is also a cloud security posture management tool. So it provides an overall posture of where your resources could have vulnerabilities, if their security levels are. It also integrates Defender for server, Defender for containers, a whole bunch of different defenders that we'll dive into that you can integrate into the overall Defender for Cloud platform. And the actual Defender for Cloud itself can also integrate into Azure DevOps and GitHub, providing DevSec capabilities. And it also integrates into Azure Sentinel, or Microsoft Sentinel, as the rebrand has said, for overall SIEM and SOAR capabilities to give you a full suite for cloud security and orchestration protection. So let's dive into a quick demo. See you guys on the other side. Alright guys, so here's the Defender for Cloud console, and in it, real quick, we'll go over the overview page, right? So you can see real quickly that we have one Azure subscription connected, we have a few resources connected, we have active recommendations right away, attack paths, and a whole bunch of security alerts. So this is a demos tenant, so I like to load a whole bunch in here. You can also see that we only have Azure connected, we don't have AWS or GCP. We have 15 unassigned recommendations. We have 0 overdue recommendations, and like I said, 2 attack paths. We can also see some previews that are coming up, right? So we have a Defender for APIs preview, default settings, Defender for servers, Defender for server security alerts are getting deprecated. Right, we can also see our inventory. So basically these are all of your unmonitored or monitored resources, right? So you can see I have 9 resources, 6 are unhealthy, 2 are healthy, and 1's not applicable anymore. But you can also see I have all of my machines are protected, and you can also see the alerts that go right with it. And so when we get started, right, so everything from a Microsoft side, whether you're in Azure or you're going to be living in the Microsoft security or admin console, you need to understand that the left hand side of these are all your different areas, right? So under general, we'll have a blade, they're called blades. We'll have a blade for getting started, right? So if we want to look at what getting started is, we can see that we have, enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud enhanced security features. We can, add more subscriptions. We can add what resource types we have, the price and the cost for those types. Then we can look for it even further, right? And we can see what we have from a get started standpoint, right? You can add non-Azure servers, so this is your on-prem environment. So if you want to connect, VMware machines, Nutanix machines, just Windows servers, Linux machines, anything that's not on Azure, right? But also not in one of the other cloud providers, you can just use it using the log analytics agent, and you can just configure that. And then for multi-cloud environments, you configure it on those settings, and I'll go over all those in different videos. This is just an overview. For installing agents, right, I have it automatically set to install agents on my resources as it can, right? So super straightforward from a getting started standpoint. So let's dive into recommendations. This is a very cool feature, right? So you can actually come in and it'll tell you, hey, what's your current Defender for Cloud security score, right? So 30%, super low. We have 15 active recommendations, right? Enable MFA, we get a max score that it can increase, right? potential score increases by 20%, right? So just by doing MFA, it would get us up to almost 50%. Secure management ports, right? So with that, you could actually hit the little drop down. We have a few internet facing virtual machines, right? Make sure we're protecting those, so those are probably open to the internet, which is never a good thing. And then you obviously, management ports, make sure they're closed, right? Remediate vulnerabilities, also high increase, right? Machines should have a vulnerability assessment solution, right? They should have the findings resolved, and they should have secret findings resolved, right? So let's see if there's any other ones. So let's see. Protect the applications against DDoS attacks, right? So Azure DDoS protection standard should be enabled. That's already completely configured. We just need to add it to the new resources, it looks like. And basically that runs as needed. And so what we can also see here is, right, attack paths, right? Internet exposed VMs have high severity vulnerabilities, right? And basically what's the risk category is compute. So we need to clean those up, right? So we can actually click on it directly, and it'll keep drilling down further. It'll give you the machine name, the IP addresses, right? And it actually gives you this really cool diagram of how, hey, this is what it's looking like, right? We can go straight from the internet to the public IP, right? And lock it down. So it's very important to lock these down. It's a day-old alert, but you definitely want to make sure these are all clean as possible. And so if we go back to our pages, right, we go back to recommendations, then we can go, we were just here for attack path analysis, but now we can go to security alerts. You can see all the different alerts for our environment, right? So it looks like file list attack toolkit, right, suspicious authentication activity, unusual user password reset, and just authentication, right? So these ones I'm not too worried about. These are actually our security demo devices, so I'm not too worried about what happens on them. I'll probably end up locking them down at some point, but right now we could easily blow those machines away and not really bother anybody. Then we can see our inventory of resources. So we have 9 resources throughout the entire environment. 6 of them are unhealthy, right? We can actually see why they're unhealthy. So if you click into one, right, so we can see the recommendations, monitoring agent, it looks like, right, we have some virtual networks, we have an Azure Arc machine, the overall subscription, right, all kinds of good things to see real quick. And then from a Cloud Security Explorer standpoint, you can actually search for resource type, right? We can see, hey, do you have any machines, like any APIs out there? You can see, hey, real quickly, do we have any internet exposed VMs, right? We could also see Key Vault keeping secrets without an expiration password, right? So you can just quickly open the query up, right? And it actually loads it. So it says Azure Key Vaults that has recommendations where title, right, equals whatever, right? So you can say severity equals, and so you can say has recommendations where severity equals, you can put high, right? So high recommendations, or you can put, contained in, can be accessed by, right? So you can change it up pretty quickly. You can also see if there's log4j's out there, and you can open that query up, and it says, hey, there's your log4j CVEs, right? And that can authenticate with the Azure Managed Identities with storage accounts, right? We want to make sure we can actually search super quickly right here, all in Defender for Cloud. And then you also have what's called workbooks, right? So you can actually have built-in workbooks for governance, DevOps security, API security, vulnerability assessments, right? Systems updates. You have cost estimator for this. Like I said, log4j is a really good one. Active recommendations, coverage, right? Ransomware dashboard, all kinds of really interesting things. And then there's a whole community that we started to see, right? So you can see blog posts, you can see change requests, right? In ServiceNow. Right? So you can actually do some really cool integrations. You can do remediation templates. You can also, if you're having issues, right, you can come straight in here and diagnose and solve problems. You can create a support ticket. Right, all really cool things right under the general page. Then we dive down into cloud security, right? We get our security posture. This goes right into it with our secure score. You can also see your unhealthy resources, time, right, and recommendations once again. But cool thing for a lot of customers out there is this regulatory compliance. So we can very quickly go in and say, hey, we can download our report, we can do a compliance over time, but you can manage your compliance policies too, right? So for this, you can do it by the whole tenant group, right? All 3 resources, and you can say, hey, I want to come in and apply things, right? So you can set up exports, you can do a security policy, right? So you can do a whole bunch of policies up against the Microsoft Cloud Security Box. Benchmarked, right? That's out of the box, right? There's some deprecated. You can add standards. You can use custom initiatives, or you can use what's called governance rules, right? You can create rules, right? So a governance rule for some would be you have to always enter a test, right? I usually do a scope and just put it at the root. You'll come in as a priority 1, right? By severity, remediation time frame, right? So if it falls out of basically compliance, it can easily go in and remediate against it, not doing anything like that. You could set data sensitivities, right? Very, very quick things that can help you add to your security posture. You can also see that your workload protections, what kind you have what types you have. So advanced protection, right? I don't have any. I have just-in-time VM access if you have any configured, right? I don't have any. Adaptive network hardening, right? How you're protecting your machines is super important. The firewall manager, right? If you actually have anything out there, we don't have any virtual firewalls out there. We have a VNet out there with DDoS protection that needs to be enabled, right? We need to go re-enable it. A new VNet got created, so you can go re-enable it. And then you can actually come in here and see your DevOps security. I haven't connected our Azure DevOps or our GitHub, so I will probably do that at some point later and make a video about it. But that's the overall gist of the Defender for Cloud. Now, when you come in for the first time, you actually have to set it up, and all that's done inside of management and environment settings. So when you actually configure it, right? So if we want to add an environment, we could add, AWS, GCP, GitHub, or Azure DevOps. But if we want to add subscriptions for, Azure, we would just go in and check it, right? We would check it. We've only added one. Super simple, very easy. You can actually estimate the cost right there as well. So you can go add whatever, whether it's a GitHub, Azure DevOps, AWS. You can see, hey, what's my cost going to be if I add these resources into Defender for Cloud? And then if you want to configure third-party solutions, you would actually go into Security Solutions, right? And so you can configure a third-party, non-Azure servers, of course, but you can also configure third-party SIM tools, right? So you could actually add in, like a Splunk, a QRadar, and you can just easily add that, right? So you can create your event hub, export, and then install your partner connector, right? And you can see what the list of all the partner connectors are, and it's pretty straightforward. I'll drop these lists in the notes, but we can see that if you got JSON templates in here, it looks like supported are QRadar, Splunk, Sumo Logic, ArcSight, Logarithm, Logs.io, and just a standard syslog connector. So very, very straightforward. And then workflow automation, right? You can actually add automation rules and to what you would want to do, right? For a recommendation, right? Tons of recommendations, right? Actions. You can set up a logic app, and what basically you do is create a logic app in the background, and you can do sort of, hey, I want to create a ServiceNow ticket for every recommendation that comes in. Something that simple. And then, create the ticket, close the ticket. It's not bi-directional sync, so it would just be one-time thing. And just basically create the ticket for somebody else to go take actions and then close out. But that is the gist of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And it's a really great, powerful tool to protect your Microsoft Azure environment, but also your multi-cloud workloads. So until next time, thank you guys and have a great night.